Today, I'm gonna be testing 100 years of tech, from the world's first VR goggles, to the first TV, to the first computer. Some of this tech was so powerful it had to be banned, starting with the 1910s. These are the world's first ever VR glasses. This is called the stereoscope viewer, and it's basically the Apple Vision Pro of 1910. There are only three parts to this machine. One is a goggle. Here we can see there are two eye holes with slightly slanted glasses. Once you put the holder on, we can go about selecting a movie to watch. So it comes with these cards, and back in the day, companies would go door to door and try to sell you box sets with different themes. Here we have a set of Christian images, so you know, Jesus. And then some sets get a little sus. So this one has a series of 25 images of a guy cheating on his wife. So you just have to find the right angle. A lot of these images have a depth effect. Try taking a look at Jesus. Ooh, this one is really good. And Jesus is like floating. So how this works is the image on the left and the right, each one is from a slightly different angle. But when you look through the lens, they come together in the middle and form a singular 3D image. A similar technology is still being used today in our VR goggles. It's amazing how far technology can advance in 100 years. And some of the tech later on you have probably never heard of. In the 1920s, the world just emerged from World War I. Electricity stopped being just for elites and started powering everyday life. And in that decade, the first ever electronic instrument was invented by a Russian physicist called the theremin. This instrument is magical because you can play it without touching anything. One controls the pitch, and then this one controls the volume. As we get closer, eventually becomes silent. You can make music out of thin air. The sci-fi music and sounds you hear from movies comes from this. It's now the 1930s. The world was in a crisis. It's now the Great Depression. Budget was tight, but the one thing that gave people hope was this box right here. Every evening, families and neighbors would gather around this box and silently listen, because this is a tube radio. It was not easy to get this because it's almost 100 years old. I actually don't even know if it still works. Right here is the power button. Ooh, it starts glowing. You see the light? And we need to give it a second for it to heat up. And once it heats up, it should have a green glowing light right there. So the reason why this is called a tube radio is because it's powered by these vacuum tubes at the back. They're like tiny light bulbs that can control the flow of electricity. So the antenna picks up the radio signals, and the vacuum tubes amplify these weak radio waves and turns them into sound. So vacuum tubes are the brains of electronics before microchips were invented. And the first computer used thousands of them grouped together to make calculations. Now we have it on. Let's see what these knobs do, all right? Oh. Here's something. I think that might be the volume right there. Okay, I think this might be changing the radio waves. This last knob should allow us to change the channel. Oh, here's something. Oh shoot! And Trump and his best friend JD Vance are under. Oh, even though it was a Great Depression, the radio became affordable enough that towards the end of the 1930s, 80% of US households had a radio in their home. We found music! We're successfully using a 90-year-old machine in modern day. This is blowing my mind. And the tech from now on only gets cooler. Later, I even adopt an AI dog. In 1945, World War II finally ended. America had been building weapons, but the factories were now out of work. So they had to shift production to keep the companies alive. The factories that were once making tanks were now making toys. Out of leftover war tech came some of the most iconic products of all time. The Slinky was born from a naval engineer's accident on a battleship. He was trying to make a spring, but made the Slinky instead. This just shows that mistakes aren't always bad. I mean, look at me. For the silly putty, US military was running low on natural rubber used for tires and boots. And this was a failed attempt to make a rubber substitute. Even Lego took shape in the late 1940s, changing from wood to plastic bricks. Products became mass-produced, and with that came the technology that would change our lives forever in the next decade. 1950s. We're now in the age of color TVs. Behind me, we have hundreds of TVs, so let's go meet the expert who can tell us a little bit more. This is Kyle, the TV expert of MZTV Museum of Television. First thing I see here, Kyle, what is this? This is crazy.
You have a good eye. What you're seeing right here is the rarest television on the planet. This is a TV that was never for sale. It was only made to demonstrate in 1939 at the World's Fair in New York City. Appraisal on this television set was $5 million.
$5 million?
The one and only TV.
Now we're trying to turn on the world's rarest TV, and I'm gonna be on there. Hello, ladies and gentlemen of the world. Welcome to the first ever television broadcast brought to you by Hafu Go. Please, like and subscribe.
Some of my favorite TVs in the collection are the Philco Predictas from the late 1950s.
What about these huge alien-looking things?
Well, alien, you're kind of right about that. So 1969, this was the year of the moon landing. So all of a sudden, everybody was going space crazy, and industrial design followed that.
We'll be launching a Saturn V rocket next.
This wall right here is a huge collection of post-war televisions.
What?
These were still black and white, so it wasn't until a little later on that we get into color.
Let's see the first color TV.
So these TVs, there were only 20 of them ever made. We've got number 16. They were never for sale. These were used to show surgeries at medical conventions.
That's the first thing people saw on TV?
Surgeries, absolutely. Later, RCA came out with this TV. This time you can watch color, you can watch black and white, either way. So immediately these got forgotten, and that was the beginning of color television right here. If you take a look behind you, this was a little later on. This is when Sony got in the game. So this is a Sony Trinitron from 1969.
Oh!
You can turn it way up.
Oh, so much color!
Yeah, there's the color.
Oh, we got hue and color adjustment. Oh, I'm turning to green.
Yeah.
Wow. That's fun. There's so much history to TVs, and it literally changed the way we communicate with each other.
Absolutely. All of a sudden, televisions came around. That moon landing in 1969, everybody around the world was watching that together.
Talking about the moon landing, that's coming up next. In 1960s, humans stepped foot on the moon for the first time. And this Saturn V rocket is what got us there. In this decade, USA and the Soviets were locked in the fierce space race to become the technology world superpower. Getting to space was an obsession amongst adults and kids. Soviets struck first with the launch of the first satellite. But in 1969, US made history by landing on the moon. The Saturn V rocket stood 363 feet tall. That's over 30 stories high. It weighed over 6 million pounds, which is still not as heavy as your mom. Yet it was still able to travel over 28,000 kilometers an hour to break free from gravity. And we have an exact replica. It doesn't just look like the real thing. This rocket actually flies. If the launch is successful, we'll get to try some astronaut ice cream as well.
10, 9, ignition sequence starts.
We have to put the safety pin in, and with the press of this button, the rocket will launch. 3, 2, 1, it's go time! Woo! Whoa! Let's go see our rocket. Still smoking at the bottom. It went up, did a couple backflips, and then dove right down into its death. We didn't make it to the moon, but we can still celebrate with some space ice cream. Oh my gosh, this is, look at that. It's like a cracker and marshmallows in the middle. This tastes nothing like ice cream. I feel bad for the astronauts that had to eat this. Scientists were able to invent a rocket to go to the moon, but they couldn't invent good ice cream. That's why we gotta move on to the next decade. Now we're in the 1970s. The microchip was just invented last decade, but now they're getting cheaper and more powerful, which give birth to consumer electronics. The first ever Apple computer, the Apple I, was invented in the 1970s. And don't worry, we got an even cooler Macintosh, which I'll show you later. But home gaming consoles were also invented in this decade. And this is the Atari 2600. Before the Atari, video games were played either on big arcade machines or chunky one-game consoles. But the Atari had interchangeable game cartridges. So now you can play hundreds of games on a singular console. In order to turn this on, we gotta first put in our game and then flick the on switch. Ooh, it's working! Whoa, okay, just jump straight into it. All right, this is like, I gotta like shoot the alien boss. game. I think the graphics are worse than Minecraft. The fun thing about this game cartridge is it's got 10 games on one cartridge, and in order to switch the games, there are literally physical switches at the back that you gotta like input a combination, and you gotta input the right combination to play your game. Let's try Maze Craze. This is a game where you gotta get to the end of the maze, and you can actually plug in another controller to play 2 players and see who can get to the end of the maze first. The Atari 2600 sold for $189 when it first came out, which is equivalent to $990. Would you pay $1,000 to play a game that's worse than mobile games? Whoa, this game is hard. I'm actually so bad at this. Despite this console costing almost $1,000 in today's money, it sold over 30 million units, and it made gaming mainstream. It didn't just invent a hobby, it invented a whole new industry. And this is a doorway to the digital age. This is a computer that changed everything. Before the Macintosh, computers were machines for nerds. Green text, black screen, command lines. And the only games you could play were text adventures. But when Steve Jobs visited Xerox PARC, yes, the printer company, he saw a prototype computer with a graphical interface. And he instantly knew this was the future.
The mouse is a pointing device that moves a cursor around the display screen.
So he went back to Apple to assemble an Avengers team of coders, engineers, designers to build this.
Introducing Macintosh.
A computer that was powerful, beautiful, and human. And we had to scour the internet for weeks to get our hands on this machine. And we're about to turn it on for the first time. Ooh. It's working. Oh, dude. I see the screen. So this icon with the question mark means we have to insert our floppy disk. This is what all the programs were saved onto. Right here is the Macintosh tour. Welcome to your tour of the Macintosh. All right, let's go through it. So practice pointing, move the pointer so it touches each of the numbers in order. Moving a mouse may seem basic today, but back then, this was innovation. People have never interacted with a computer in this way. People had to learn how to interact with the computer. So right here, we go to 3, 4, 5, 6. Number 1, pointing. By moving the mouse, you can point at anything on the screen. Point at the arrow to go on. This tutorial does not exist on any computer today. It's just assumed you know how to use a keyboard and mouse. The desktop. So this is teaching people about the concept of a desktop, because they're literally using a desk and the top of a desk to explain what a desktop means. Oh my gosh, this is crazy! The Macintosh was the first ever commercially successful computer with a graphical interface. Meaning now you didn't have to know how to code to use it. You could just point and click, drag files, open folders, use menus. And the Mac came with Mac Paint, where now kids can use a computer to draw something that came from their mind. And that seemed unfathomable a couple years back. The computer also came with Mac Write, which allowed the everyday man to do work or write notes. The Macintosh changed the way people viewed and interacted with machines. It created a whole new category called personal computers. Even though people didn't understand how this box worked its magic, for the first time, we just started trusting technology we couldn't explain. And this trust built up over the years, and we started letting machines into our lives. In the 1990s, the most important revolution happened. I was born. But second from that, the world went digital. Consumer tech became a part of our everyday lives, like the DVD player. This machine replaced VHS, so instead of having big, bulky tapes, now your movies can come on a slim, thin disc like this. The video quality of DVDs also improved compared to the analog VHS tapes. Whoa, that's some HD stuff. And with the digital age, things became higher quality and more convenient. We got MP3 players, 1,000 songs in your pocket. Or Tamagotchis. No need for physical pets, we got digital ones that can still take a dump in your room and annoy you. Did any of you play with this as a kid? Or the PS1? This was the first gaming console to sell over 100 million units. Almost every home had one. The PS1 compared to the Atari is a completely different experience. First of all, the graphics are 3D now. It's not just tiny little pixels. And the gameplay is now much more complex. This is Crash Bandicoot, one of the most popular and OG PS1 games. This console made gaming cool and the games were much more fun. The 1990s was the first time that tech became a part of our lifestyles. These machines weren't just tools anymore. They were status symbols, personal experiences, and the things that defined culture. Which leads us into the 2000s, where now everything fits into your pocket.
An iPod, a phone, and an internet communicator.
This is the first ever iPhone. This device defined how we spend hours of our daily lives today. Although phones existed at the time, the iPhone was the first ever touchscreen smartphone. So everything had to be invented, not redesigned, invented. And this week I was reading a book called Creative Selection. It's about Apple's product development process. And I learned this. Apple spent over 6 months just developing the software to type on the iPhone. Why would they waste so much time? It's because no one had typed on a slab of glass before. So all the software had to be intuitive. Back then, phones had styluses or BlackBerry style physical keyboards. And Apple's own Newton failed partially because of the terrible typing experience. So this time, Apple had to reinvent how people interacted with the phone. They started with oversized buttons with multiple letters crammed onto each key. It felt clunky, slow, wrong. Eventually, they discovered something new, autocorrect, where you no longer had to press the exact key. Now the phone can predict what you're about to type based on common words. That eventually led them back to the QWERTY style keyboard we see today. Pretty smooth. I mean, there were a couple errors here and there, but this was an innovation. Other decade-defining features include mobile web browsing, voice memos. Hello, what is up? This is a voice memo.
Hello, what is up? This is a voice memo.
Here's on here a bit of a joke. Also got a camera app. It doesn't have a selfie camera. Fun fact, the volume rocker doesn't work as a camera button yet. So we have to line our fingers up here and take a selfie. Honestly, that's not too bad. Another feature the iPhone pioneered was the inertial scrolling, which is the way we interact with all content today. Everything we take for granted today had to be invented in the 2000s with the first ever iPhone. If you compare that to the latest iPhone we have today, much of the device still looks very similar, and that's how impactful the original iPhone was. As technology gets better, it gets more ingrained into our lives. By the 2010s, we were always plugged in. From the moment we wake up, we were inside the matrix. Your iPhone was always by your side, and social media wasn't just invented, it became our identities. Algorithms started deciding what we watched, what we wanted, and what we paid attention to. And tech companies were desperate to build new ways to integrate into our lives. Enter Google Glass. This was supposed to be the future of AR. Unfortunately, it was $1,500 when it released, and it only had 7 basic features: picture, video, phone calls, text, Google Hangouts, Google Search, and directions. And if you wore this in public, people thought you were creepy because there was a camera here. Or even worse, they called you a glass hole. But the vision for this product was much grander. The ads made it look like you were living your own augmented world layered on top of reality. But it never lived up to its hype because it was too early for its time. And this product now is completely useless because the app is discontinued and you can't even get past the setup screen. So I basically spent $500 for a piece of garbage. Google Glass tried to fuse your body with machine intelligence. It couldn't do it at the time, but that dream is now possible with the next decade. This is my new robot dog. This robot dog has a bunch of cool features that we'll show you right now. We found Just because he was just walking this robot dog for fun.
I take my dog on a walk like everybody does.
But why?
Because why not?
Show me what it can do.
So first off, say hi, Bolt.
Ooh. Hello, Bolt.
Like any dog does, it also stretches
Whoa.
before it starts to run. And one of the cool things is this one.
Ooh.
So it shows its heart. It draws a heart pattern right
so
there.
cute.
But my favorite is this one.
Whoa!
Make
Are
it
there
do
any
that.
modes where like it can like detect me and like try to interact with me?
Oh, absolutely. There's a AI mode that can help you do that, where it can also talk to you.
Does it talk in English or does it talk in barks?
There's there's multiple language support, and it's all in human languages.
Step aside.
Step as-
Robot dog coming through.
Whoa, it's very aggressive.
It's a little bit, yeah.
Trying to box, bro?
Yeah.
It's like a kangaroo boxing.
Yeah, so it will actively try to hit people if I don't make it stop.
Bolt is a much friendlier and playful version of the AI dog. This machine has been pushed beyond simple tricks. Some versions have been modified to carry weapons, shoot flamethrowers, or even transport gear into war zones. As AI grows smarter and shows up in more forms, like humanoid robots, it's no longer just a tool.
Whoa!
That's the front two.
It becomes a part of our lives.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's fine. That's fine. It's still standing.
AI is everywhere now. Work, studying, gaming, banking, Web3, crypto. It acts in the background on our behalf.
Hey boy. Hey, how you doing? How far away do you think we are from AI being completely conscious?
Oh, a little further away. I would say at least a decade.
Jump, boy, jump! Oh, let's go!
But here's the big question. How do we know AI is making the right decisions?
With the advancement of like ChatGPT and all these AI, where it's trying to control us. Like we like are listening to exactly what it's saying and doing what it's saying.
How do we know it's playing fair? That's where polyhedra comes in. Using ZKML, zero-knowledge machine learning, polyhedra makes AI behavior provable without leaking sensitive data or exposing systems to hacks. Whether it's in finance, gaming, or decentralized platforms, polyhedra gives us confidence that AI is doing exactly what it claims. If you want to learn more about AI and polyhedra, click the link in the description below for some free resources. And for now, let's enjoy the last moments where AI can still be kept on a leash.
Do you want to meet a robot dog? Milo's scared, huh? Our robot dog, Bolt, is having trouble making friends.
Oh, what happened
He
there?
just died. Bolt, are you okay? Okay, we gotta take Bolt to the vet.
Click here to watch me test more science gadgets, and click here to watch a video that YouTube thinks you'll love.